third light body level. At the third level of light body, physical sensations become extremely strong. The smell of the remains placed in the trash can, for example, lead them on madness, even if you are upstairs. Everything can seem incredibly tactile. The chair in which you sit or the clothes you are wearing can bother them terribly because you are extremely sensitive. Many people rediscover sexual pleasure on the third level light body. It is for this reason that increased the number of births since April 1989, when the planet and its population were activated to the third level. All that is happening is very focused on the physical body. He is beginning to expand to what we call biotron's daughter system. The physical body is to decode and deal with upper light energies and to transmit this energy to the planet. As part of the separation game, these functions shrivel up. Intensification of physical sensations is the first body of awakening signal to its biotron's daughter. Undifferentiated light jets are issued by the Supreme Mind in axial tunnel lines 5th dimension. From the interfaces of rotating axial tunnel points on the surface of the skin begins to form axial circulatory system of the 5th dimension. The axial system expands then to the pivot points and active in every cell of the physical body. While the first and second levels of the light body, the physical body was flooded with light, now on the third level, each cell is focused by the light through the axial system. Mitochondria recognize this light as a kind of food and produce more adenosine triphosphate. As the light is received by the cell that is usable energy, a smaller amount of adenosine triphosphate becomes adenosine diphosphate. When the axial system will power the Supreme Mind to the pivot points in the cells, they produce frequencies of sound and light that alter the atomic spin on adenosine triphosphate molecule begins another type of activity. The 3 phosphate groups which are the bases of adenosine triphosphate molecule start to work as an antenna to capture the undifferentiated light, and the symmetrical end of the molecule functions as a prism, fragmenting light in subtle color spectra, used for code and active DNA. Before activating the light body, ribonucleic acid transmitted messages in one direction. He took the directions of 7% active DNA to other parts of the cell, for example, the order to synthesize specific proteins. At the third level of light body, ribonucleic acid transmits messages in both directions. He went on to retransmit the DNA codes light fragmented in frequency colors through the prism/adenosine triphosphate antenna, back to the DNA codes. Inactive genetic codes are activated gradually at each level of light body and pass your information to the ribonucleic acid, which rebroadcasts it to other cells. This is very similar to the laser technology of the new CD developed on Earth. A huge amount of information can be stored on a single disk. Imagine that a huge amount of information can be stored in a red spectrum and huge amounts of data can be stored in a blue color spectrum. A red laser beam passes through the disk, allowing reading all the red information, although you still do not know what is stored in the blue spectrum. Passing a blue laser beam on the CD, all of this information become available. The frequencies of light/color read the DNA in a very similar way. Before the color spectrum is transmitted, you have no idea what it contains. Each level of light body has its own color code and sound. Thus, the spirit performs the gradual change of the physical body. The transmission of information in one direction, from DNA to ribonucleic acid, and triphosphate power cycle adenosine diphosphate were closed systems, which ensure the entropy. Nothing could change, but it is decomposing. With the activation of the light body, new systems, fully open, can develop, making available to the body endless amounts of information and energy. the dialogue between the physical body and the spirit started. In the first two levels of the light body, you can still reverse the whole process, for the adenosine triphosphate and ribonucleic acid not yet started to work in this new way. It is experiencing a continuous change that you cannot stop. That is why the activation of indigenous peoples of this planet and the planet itself took place on the third level of light body, as well the process simply could not be changed. This activation on the third level light body also established a correlation between this planet and others who are ascending from the physical plane, so that they are all synchronized. Not only is this planet that is rising, entire dimension is rising, and all the astral plane. When this rise is complete, no longer exist the physical and astral planes. This whole process is something we call inspiration of Source. According to our model, the Source point 1, all that is, or God is manifested in the form of inhalations and exhalations of creativity, very slow expirations and very fast inspirations. A worker of light once asked us why it takes billions of years for this game to reach this level of separation is then reversed in just 20 years. Imagine you are the one, and as such, you decide to investigate the many facets of what you are through the progressive individualization levels. It is like extending a rubber band. As you develop an increasing individualization, the elastic becomes increasingly stiffer, until you reach a point where it can no longer be extended. You move away as much of a point and the tension is huge. At this point, you turn back and release the rubber band, that is separateness. What happens? You go back to point A very fast. On this planet, the game of separation reached a point where it became impossible any relationship between people. All karmic relationships through which you could pass already occurred and, therefore, you began the phase of inspiration. The game is over. It's time to go home. What we call workers of light are members of transition teams that are on this planet to assist in this light process. That's why you're here. Some people have been on this planet throughout the cycle. Others assisted in the assembly of that particular game and decided to stay here to see how it would work. If you consider this process from the point of view of linear time, you would see that they are both in linear time as in parallel times, being activated, becoming light. A planet does not rise at a given time. He ascends from the moment of its creation. And that's why many of you have had many lives here. Others are coming now assist, which is also very good.